Here is one of a series of talks by spiritual leader Lola McDowell Lee, spanning 2 decades from the early 70s through the 90s. Lola was a Zen Roshi, whose Rinzai lineage included Dr. Henry Plutov and renowned Zen master Shigetsu Sasaki. Lola was a religious scholar as well as an ordained Christian minister. While the talks are focused mainly on Zen and Buddhism, Lola drew on many spiritual traditions, including those of Jesus, Plato, Lao Tzu, the Hindu Vedas, Meister Eckhart, and Gurdjieff.
The teacher Ikkyu, I've used some of his stuff before, so you're familiar with the name. He's an old-timer, long time ago teacher, very renowned, very astute. If it rain, let it rain. If it rain not, let it not rain. But even should it not rain, you must travel with wet sleeves. Look at the cherry blossoms. Their color and scent fall with them and are gone forever. Yet mindless, the spring comes again. Buddhism is the shaved part of the saucepan, the whiskers of the pebble, the sound that accompanies the bamboo in the picture. The puppet player hangs them around his neck, not his heart. He can take out a devil, he can take out a Buddha. If he says there's nothing special about it, already he has transgressed and can say nothing else. This Daruma Ikkyu. Yeah. Strange words, huh? Zen sometimes uses some very strange phrases. You know, pebbles don't have whiskers, and you don't shave a saucepan. Birds don't leave tracks. Moon doesn't leave a track either. Do you leave a track? Most people are forever trying to leave tracks in the sand of time. Do you really leave a track? But it brings us round to, these silly things, seemingly silly. You can't bite your own teeth. It brings us around to a question. What is religion? And that's a very big question. What is religion to you? Because the to you, after all, is what's important. Huh? The word religion comes from the Latin, and it means to yoke, or to tie back to the source, to return to the beginning. Before Abraham was, that would be the beginning. Before Abraham was, the source. But ordinarily, we don't look at religion in this manner. Religion is usually, we go to church, we listen to someone talk, and then we go about our everyday business again. But Zen says, going about your everyday business is religion, but it must be done in a particular manner. everyday business. And that particular manner simply is to remember we are here. I am here. I'm not just involved in my feelings and my thinkings and what I touch and what I smell and what I hear and what I see. I am here. Paul Tillich, I think most of you have heard of him. He's was a well-known theologian. He defined religion as the ultimate concern. Ultimate to me is a little, and I think it would be better to say the immediate concern. Ultimate, that comes at the end of something. That's the peak of something, the height of something. It comes, at the end of the line. Somewhere, some way down the road, I will think about it, and I might read about it, and so on. Ultimately, no, immediately, directly, now. Religion is not a desire for a faraway place. It is not a curiosity about something that is distant from me or that I think is distant from me. Religion is an inquiry into oneself. What am I? Why am I? What am I doing here? It is concerned with you. It is concerned with your reality. With your true identity. That's religion's concern. And we also must recognize that religion is a process. Processes we usually think of as time, but in this instance you don't. It is a process somewhat like peeling an onion. You know the story of the little town, and the people didn't have any onions, but they'd heard about them, so they came to the place where they regarded onions as sacred. And one day somebody brought a big onion, and they set it up in front of the courthouse, and people in the town all came to look at it, and some looked, that it smells funny. I don't think that's anything. Can't amount to much. And they went away. And then finally somebody peeled off a layer, and Lord, the smell was even worse. But interesting that they could peel it. So the time came finally when somebody took it home and cooked it, thinking maybe to get rid of the smell. And so then one of the neighbors ate it, took a bite. Not bad, huh? So then everybody was running down to the courthouse and peeling off an onion layer, and taking it home and cooking it. And the first thing you know, there wasn't any onion left. Couldn't amount to much, they said. It disappeared. Yeah, process. Through the discipline of meditation and of observing oneself in action, in this way, observing oneself, you peel away the masks. You layer after layer. You get rid of the illusions. You get rid of the fantasies, the dreams, One gets rid of the authority that is of the past, which governs us all the time. our conformity to what we have been taught and how we must behave and, be a good girl and do it this way. The authority that one has within oneself of this type of thing, we call it deluded mind. Yeah. It is a conditioning of the mind that leads us away from ourselves. And when we turn around to observe ourselves and the masks that we present to others and the masks that we present to ourselves, just like with the onion, layer after layer goes. And finally, there's nothing left in your hands. There's nothing left to grasp. Many people at that place, they grasp the old conditioning and put it on again. They say it's like putting a hat on a hat. But that nothing, seeming nothing of you, or that seeming nothing of the onion, there is an essence. And in that essence is the source. Out of that seeming nothing, everything rises, and again, slowly, slowly, slowly disappears back into that, what they call not. Nothing. That nothing which we carry in us like a seed. Meister Eckhart put it this way. I have often said, he writes, I have often said before that there is an agent in the soul, untouched by time and flesh, which proceeds out of the Spirit and which remains forever in the Spirit and is completely spiritual. There is one agent alone in the soul that is free. Sometimes I have called it the tabernacle of the Spirit. Other times I have called it the light of the Spirit. And at other times again, a spark. Now I say it is neither this nor that. It is something higher than this or that, as the sky is higher than the earth. It is free of all names and unconscious of any kind of form. It is at once pure and free. There is an agent in your soul that is now pure and free. But to be that, to be in that, to be with that, for that we direct ourselves in the religious process, discovering what is pure and free in us and is hidden in the soul. Now, in this day and age, I have read of, so I am given to understand, that the physicists, in trying to figure out this universe, they speak of black holes, and they say it is nothing. That hole, that nothing, into which matter disappears. So there's lots of talk, Lots of interest in black holes. We do have, huh? Now there comes talk and interest about white holes. Out of white holes, matter rises, they say. See? And into black holes, it disappears. So we've got the black holes and the white holes. That's where they get the term, the white hats and the black hats, you see. Two aspects of the same reality. Yeah? Two aspects of the same reality. They're like doors, you know. One side of the door has got entrance. On the other side of the door it says exit, you know. We have a door in us. The seed. Yeah. It's the door to God. It is completely spiritual. At the beginning and in the middle and at the end. In its purity and in its freedom. Huh? Manifesting black holes and white holes. Yeah? Now, each of us carrying this seed, this free agent in us, how does this seed appear to you? How does this seed, this spark, as Meister Eckhart called it, how does it appear to you? How does it look? Where is the door? And it is to this that we direct ourselves, our attention. Buddhism is one of the religions that is concerned with reality. The reality of the mind, the reality of you. You know, what constitutes your mind? So we go deeper and deeper and deeper within ourselves until the realization comes about that at the bottom of everything in us, at the bottom of my world, you know, there is this seed, this free agent. And the Buddhists have called it shunyata, which means empty or nothing. So it is a so-called, again, we're back to this nothingness. But let us also not be fooled with his word. This nothing, this ungraspable little seed, or what is within the seed, this emptiness, so-called, this shunyata, is the most power and peace that you could ever experience. Out of India, you know, we have the Upanishads, and in the Upanishads we read, there's a story of this boy, Svetaketu. His father sends him off to school when he's 12, and when he comes back from being educated, his father, Udalaka, watches him for a few days, and he sees his pride in his learning. Oh, he knows the Vedas by heart, he knows the Upanishads by heart, he knows the Gita by heart. He's very proud of his learning. So the father looks at him and realizes this boy needs a little help here now. And he asks him, have you ever asked for the knowledge by which we hear the unhearable, by which we perceive the unperceivable, and by which, the knowledge by which we know the unknowable? And the boy, no, I never thought about that. Please, sir, tell me more. And the story goes on. The father talks about salt in the sea and all kinds of things, you know. And finally he says to the boy, bring me the fruit of the Neagroda tree. Fruit tree over there, something like a pomegranate, I guess. And so the boy brings the fruit, and the father says, break it open. So he does it, and the father says, what do you see? I see some seeds, sir. Extremely small, sir. Break one of them. So the boy breaks one of these little bitty seeds, and he's inside, you know. What do you see? Nothing, sir. And the father says, the subtle essence that you do not see, and in that essence that you do not see is the whole of the Neagroda tree. And in that essence, all things have their existence. That is the truth. That is the self, and that art thou. Tattvamasi. Thou art that. But you have to know it, of course. You just can't run around saying, well, look what I am, boy. I'm empty. I'm a seed. Yeah. Jesus taught, and we quote that often, you know. I hear it all over the place. You know, if you know the truth shall make you free. It is the knowing of the truth that will make you free. Because after all, truth is liberation. You know, it liberates us from our foolishness. Liberation is our freedom from conformity, from the authority of the past. This seed within, you know, the essence, or this spark, in that truth lives, truth abides, not in my words and not in yours, but that which abides within the seed, which is hidden in the soul. Once you have seen this seed, once you have had a glimpse of this truth, this subtle essence, you are never again the same. Once you have seen the reality, how can you continue then to delude yourself? How can you then continue in your prejudices? How can you keep on holding false opinions? When one sees this essence called truth, only truth is present. Only truth is present. To be in that truth, this liberation, moksha, is deliverance from the deluded mind. What more can you want? There are those who are of the opinion that Jesus studied with the Buddhists in Nalanda. Now, Nalanda is in India, and it's at the foot of the Himalayas. And Nalanda was the name of a tremendous university of the monks. There were 10,000 monks here. And they were all working, meditating, not bent on proving anything. just seeking, not trying to prove anything, not searching for something that they knew a priori, that they knew beforehand. And not something that was already established in the mind. Something that is established in your mind is a stumbling block. It is a stumbling block even if you just want to become a better person. Certainly a stumbling block if you want to understand yourself. If I know this, it is certainly going to keep me from realizing this. Because if you are very sure that you know something, how can you seek for it? You already know it. No point seeking then. No, these monks were simply searching into themselves with no idea of what they were searching for. So this term, shunyata, this empty, is excellent. You don't know what you're looking for. The word nothing doesn't give you much to look for, does it? So just looking, a pure search. What is here? What is here? And because they were not preoccupied with any notions or ideas or concepts, well, what is here is a body, and here is feelings, and here is this, and here is that, and here's the other thing, you know. They weren't preoccupied with any ideas and notions. A great many came to know. Besides, I would think that the force of 10,000 monks in meditation be floating up to the ceiling or something like that there. You know, to search without any idea. You know, it's wiping the eyes, cleaning the eyes, bathing the eyes, and just looking. Not looking for anything in particular, just looking. You know, paying attention. Paying attention to what you don't know. It's a very simple approach. It isn't complicated at all. You just look at what you don't know. They call it discipline, It means to learn. Discipline, the word discipline comes from the word to learn. You make yourself available. Very rewarding. Anyway, there are those who say that Jesus lived at this place called Nalanda, and that's where he got some of his approach. Because in the Bible we read about his birth, you know, and then next thing you know, he's 12 years old and he's arguing with the rabbis, and then he disappears. For 18 years he disappears. And then all of a sudden he's back again. And then we read of the last 3 years of his life. What was he doing these 18 years? Well, the other day when I was over there at Palomar, the subject came up. Gene Sager, who teaches the class, brought it up when he and I were walking. He was walking me to the car. And he said, well, some of the people in his classes have said that during those 18 years, he spent those 18 years making chairs. After all, he was a carpenter. You know, a man of that caliber, making chairs for 18 years? What happened to all those chairs? I mean, you know, I mean, if it's anything like we are today, why, somebody must have wanted them for souvenirs or something, and they would have kept them, and you know, this is the chair that Jesus made, and all that kind of stuff. Well, I mean, this is he spent 18 years making chairs. So that's not much of an answer for me. Strange that those 18 years are not accounted for. That's a tremendous gap, from 12 to 30. More than half his life is missing. The story we have of Jesus' life is very fragmentary. Was something deliberately left out? It's not, that the people who wrote the good news, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and John, the Gospels and the good news, certainly they must have been aware that something was missing. 18 years, just missing. And tremendously important years, A child of 12, and then suddenly appearing again with John the Baptist, already a mature and enlightened man. He's one who knows. He's one who has seen. He has one who has accomplished, achieved, and attained. And then, of course, the last 3 years they're all related to the work that he does for others. What about his work on himself? Oh, it mentions in there that he goes out to the desert and has a battle with the devil at one time. And one time he goes up on the mountain and is transfigured. But for the most part, his preparation of himself to teach as he taught, it seems almost deliberately dropped. And one I have heard, we leave it with I have heard, that the reason it was dropped was because he went to India. And it is said that in India he studied under many masters, and he studied also this Buddhism. And there are those who say that there's proof of this. Jesus comes back now and he talks about love. His God is a God of love, and the compassionate. Jewish God is not a God of love. That's a very jealous God. It's a very wrathful God. And it is a law-giving God. But with Jesus, no, love. With enlightenment comes love. And Jesus also said, if someone slaps you on the cheek, give him the other cheek also. And this is not a Jewish approach. Jesus said, forgive. Forgive them. 7 times 70, forgive. That's not a Jewish concept. If someone throws a brick at you, you throw one back. It's tit for tat. That's the law. Justice. Now comes Jesus with a new commandment, the value of love. I give you a new commandment. The glimpse, love. Yeah, interesting to speculate, So, if it rain, let it rain. If it rain not, let it not rain. But even should it not rain, you must travel with wet sleeves. Well, in the Buddha's approach to life, we find that he emphasizes equilibrium, a balance, a choicelessness, living in a choicelessness, which is called the middle way. It's just going with it. See? Don't move to the extreme of hot, and don't move to the extreme of cold. Pain and pleasure, the seeking of, are two extremes. Don't choose either one, but don't avoid, and for heaven's sakes, don't cling. Just remain in balance, watching, not attached, not clinging. It's a watchful consciousness. Now, if you can observe, and this you should certainly be learning, teaching yourself, to observe without like or dislike. And if you can observe the situation without like or dislike, suddenly you're out of it. Choicelessness. Don't choose either one. That's the way to freedom. We will all have good days and bad days. I mean, that's the nature of the thing. Good days and bad days, But even on good days, you must travel with wet sleeves. Careful, watchful. You don't want the wet to touch you, Careful, watchful. It may be there are those who have a life of convenience, of comfort, of pleasure, and not very much pain, but they too must travel with wet sleeves. With all they may have of pleasure, they will get old. No getting around that. They will someday have to depart the scene. It can't be avoided. There's no way to escape that. If the rain come, let the rain come. You cannot escape nature. You're in it. The Zen master Bankai, and those of you who know Zen at all, read everything about it, you know that he's very well known, Bankai. And there is a story about him, and he tells it of himself. As a child, he had a tremendous fear of dying. At the age of 3, his mother, as a punishment, would frighten him with this word death. If you do this, you're going to die, you're going to die, you're going to die. When he's 3 years old already, she's doing this to him. Not only that, but when she decided he'd been a very bad boy, she would pretend that she was dead. She'd lie down and close her eyes and stop her breath. And this little boy would weep, and he would cry, and he would call, come back, I will never do such a thing again, until she began to breathe again and opened her eyes. So it's a terrible thing to do to a kid, Ugh. So, but anyway, from very early childhood, the fear of death was with him, People say that's why he got interested in Zen, maybe. The compensatory. Not necessarily true. Because after all, maybe it was Zen because then people say there is no death. You're never born and you never die. Anyway, so when he grew up a little bit, 18 or so, he went to a monastery, and here are all these practices, and he wants to get to a place where he's not going to die, so he overdoes everything. Very austere, eating very little bit, sitting as much as he could, Conquer death, overcome it, And he practiced Zazen for such long periods of time that the places where he sat, became covered with sores and boils. And finally he became very ill because he really did overdo it. And he nearly lost his life in this thing. So he had to withdraw from all practice in order to recuperate. And it was during this period of convalescence that he had his first satori, his real, true, solid glimpse. And this instantaneous realization, the one that he had, this is the story that he tells, was that he would not die. That he couldn't die for the simple reason that he wasn't born. Now this Bankai knew, just as well as you know and just as well as I know, and everyone knows, that his body emerged from his mother's womb. Where else is it going to come from? No? Well, maybe someday it'll be test tubes and stuff, you know. But anyway, he had a body. And this body had arrived upon this scene. It was born. And yet he had realized that he had never been born. So the Zen people insist, you know, that you've got to go very deep within yourself. You return to the source, to this seed, and you see what you were before your mother and father were. Then they call that the original face, this essence, this seed. Now, one of the great experiences, and there are many great experiences, one of the great experiences of life is to watch your own death. But of course you have to prepare for that. If you can't watch a headache, oh dear, you know, I've got a headache, I've got to go to bed. If you can't watch a small pain in your stomach, see, if you can't watch these small things, how are you going to watch yourself die? Because you will be afraid. No. So in Buddhism we find this thing, watch. You know, watch the pain in your stomach. Watch the headache. Let every moment become an experience of watchfulness. What is watching? Pain, pleasure, up, down, love, hate, good, bad, you know. Just go on watching. Don't choose them, just watch. This way, one becomes balanced. You know, one becomes into the center of the polarities, you know, that we talked about here a couple of weeks ago. Reality was never born. Reality will never die. The phenomenal world changes. So you be the watcher. Just be the watcher. Be it. Just be it. The body was born and I was watching. Yeah, and you can do that. The body became young and I was watching. And the body became old and I was watching. And one day it will die and I will be watching. I won't die. I will be watching. I am watching. I am watchfulness. And this the Buddha called samasati, or right awareness. This watching. Look at the cherry blossoms. Their color and their scent, they fall with them. They're gone forever. Yet mindless, the spring comes again. Yeah. All the seasons, fall, winter, spring, and summer, and the tides ebbing and flowing, and the clouds going across the sky, you know, repeating themselves, you know, all mindlessly. Your mind certainly isn't directing it. Mindlessly, you know, like a wheel. And so they sometimes call it the wheel of life and death, the wheel of time, the wheel of fortune. love is followed by hate, hate is followed by love, success is followed by failure, and failure is followed by success. You know, these are the spokes on the wheel. One rises and it falls, and the next one rises, so on, you know. And if you watch, that is, you really watch, even for a few days, you can begin to see this pattern emerging, this wheel pattern, you know. One spoke up, going down, another spoke up, going down, and, you know, up and down, and up and down. One day you're full of life, you know, and you feel so happy, and the next day you feel so dull. One day when you're feeling full of life, you know, you are so thankful, you know, and the next day you're dull and full of complaints. And you don't see the point of anything. You know. Then tomorrow again, oh, comes the blissful moment, huh? The cherry blossoms come, and there will be fragrance and the singing of birds. And it will be a sun-drenched day. And then again comes the cloudy days. And then comes the blizzardy days. And then comes the sun again. Yeah? Once you see the pattern in yourself, and you must see it in yourself, you know, then you can get out of it. Once you see the pattern, you will see that it's going on mindlessly. And you will see it doesn't even need you. You're not necessary for that at all. No. It's just doing its thing. It's mechanical. You know. So now, meditation is a device to unmechanic a process. That's a word, huh? Yeah. To become aware of your activities. Walking is an activity. Yeah. And so there are times when you want to observe yourself walking, and you walk very slowly. But don't repeat the words, I am walking so slowly. You will miss because you're caught in the words. See? And then I am chewing because I am eating, I am taking a bath, I'm taking a shower, I'm combing my hair, I am hot, I am cold, I am all these kinds of things, and I keep repeating and repeating and repeating these words. And that certainly isn't going to give you any awareness. You've got to do it without any words. See? Just watch and be the doing. I am here. So that you're mindful in the moment, not 10 minutes down the line. You know, we're all very smart when the moment has passed. You know, 20/20 hindsight. But in the middle of what is going on, immediately when it's going on, it's, you know, when you're in the knothole, when you're caught in the fence, you know, when something is happening, you're sad or you're angry, that's the moment to be mindful. Being really very watchful, being mindful, it brings about a disconnection. It disconnects you from the sadness. It disconnects you from the anger. It is a disidentification, and it is in that disidentification from what's here, it is a moving toward the identification of that seed. You're no longer caught in a mood or in an attitude. No, you become the seer. The seer. Yeah. And you will see that because of your effort of watching, behind the seed has flowered. Sure, he agrees with me. And now, may the peace and the power that passeth all understanding hold us and keep us in the love of the Christed consciousness while we are seemingly separate one from another. And I do thank you very much.
If you find Lola's talks valuable, more will be posted in weeks to come.